to the enLIGHTenUP podcast, and if you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. The enLIGHTenUP podcast is a weekly show that provides an unconventional, refreshing spin on spirituality, where three friends and weekly guests share informative, fun, and sometimes off-the-wall conversations. Unlike others, we provide fringe and skeptical viewpoints on all topics, because the echo chamber can be a boring place from which to learn. Regardless of where you are on your spiritual journey, you'll find a place to fit in here. We invite you to grab a drink and listen in on our casual, entertaining, and hopefully enlightening conversation. If you're interested in supporting our podcast and helping us to continue to expand, produce, and enhance the show for our audience, please send your support to our PayPal account at info@enlightenup.us or go to our website, enlightenup.us, and check out our t-shirt shop, where you can purchase attire that will allow you to express some spiritual humor. All profits go towards the show. Thank you all so much for listening and supporting us. And now let's jump right into the episode. Hi everyone, this is Nicole, and I just wanted to give you all a quick announcement before we jump into today's episode. Last month in December, I was approached to be interviewed on telomeres, and it was for this Ageless Beauty video summit. It's called Ageless Beauty, Healthy Body, Vibrant Mind, and Boundless Spirit, and it actually happens to be launching this very weekend on January 25th. My video is actually going live on Sunday, January 27th, and I have a complimentary ticket for each and every one of you to attend. You can register at the link in the show notes of this episode, and it will get you instant access as well as notifications of when each video goes live. My video goes live on Sunday, and in it I discuss how frequency and our emotions assist in the lengthening of our telomeres to reverse the aging process. If you remember, back in February we had Augie Nost on, and he discussed with us all of the different dietary things that you can do to lengthen your telomeres and reverse the aging process. It was a really interesting episode with lots of insight and knowledge, and while I just took it a little bit further and decided to talk about how the frequency of our emotions is tied into our telomere length. So if you are interested in watching that video, as well as about 20 other videos that are going to be in this video summit, then please go click on the link in the show notes that will take you right to the website so that you can sign up and get notified and get instant free access. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope you guys find the information helpful, but that's all for now. So let's jump right into today's episode and find out what all of the waves of light guests had to share with us at enLIGHTenUP. All right, welcome everyone. This is enLIGHTenUP, and I'm here with Lisa and Brian and a ton of beautiful souls at our Waves of Light Conscious Conference at Sea. We are recording this podcast on the cruise ship, and we have about 25 people here with us. Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's been such an interesting weekend so far, and we're going to talk about some of the experiences we've had, and we also want to get some beautiful insight from all of your wise souls, and we're going to have a great discussion. Brian, how's your time been on the cruise so far?
Relaxing.
Not enlightening?
Not enlightening.
Because?
I'm stubborn. Spiritually stubborn. Should I make that a t-shirt?
Yes, I think you are spiritually stubborn.
That's a great t-shirt. Let's do that.
We're going to do that. And Lisa, how's your time been?
It's been fun. It's been relaxing, but it's been energetic. The trip to the Mayan ruins was really great. I really loved that yesterday. It gave me a big boost of energy, and just seeing all these faces in front of me right now is really making me happy. I can't believe all of you are here. It's so great.
Well, speaking of the Mayan ruins, many of us here in the room were at the Mayan ruins in Tulum yesterday, and we had a very special experience. We had a group meditation, and we have Jason Layton here, who's been such an angel and help and assistance to us. He's been allowing us to record all the video and the audio for this entire conference, including this podcast. So Jason, welcome to enLIGHTenUP. How are you?
I'm very well, very excited, and I feel very enlightened. I feel amazing.
You feel the opposite of Brian.
You guys. Yeah, I feel the opposite of Brian. I feel so
I didn't say I wasn't enlightened. I just said I was spiritually stubborn.
I'm pretty sure he said not enlightened. Yeah,
no, I said it. I said he's not enlightened.
But he agreed.
Oh, yes, he did.
I just wanted you to know I have a lot of people here to back up, whether you said something or you didn't say something. So, Jason, how was your experience yesterday at the ruins?
It was amazing. Just being with everybody and being with like-minded people in a location where the energy is so high, it was just phenomenal. And the meditation, I was buzzing and I almost like fell over because I was like just felt like I was floating in that meditation. It was amazing. It was so good.
Well, you have some knowledge and wisdom on the stars and the ruins and how that different temples and how that all relates. Do you want to share with the audience?
So first I have a lot of knowledge, but the wisdom is applying knowledge, right? So I'm working on the wisdom where I can apply this knowledge. Before we get started, I just want to show you guys a quick little glimpse of a star, right? This is Sirius, right? This is I took this with my P900 Nikon. So you can see it looks like a chakra spinning and it's vibrating. You see the frequency, right? So you can match that frequency to a frequency of light and sound. So what the stars are they're emitting energy into our reality, okay? So what the ancients knew, what our ancient ancestors knew, is how to access that vibrational frequency, that data, and they would put it into the buildings, right? So they would build these buildings called archaeoastronomy, right? So the temples that are around the whole entire world are made out of what? Stone, which is silicon, crystal, right? So if you pull your cell phone apart, right, you have a silicon chip inside of it. Silicon chip is made out of what? Crystal. So we're still using quartz crystals just like we did back in the day now inside of our technology, but we're using it a little bit differently, right? So what they were using it for was to amplify our growth and spiritually and tapping into other realities and other dimensions of space and time. We're using it for entertainment, right? We go on there, watch YouTube, listen to music, talk to each other. But we're just starting to move into a place where we're starting to awaken. We're starting to wake up now. The humanity we have descended down for 13,000 years, and now we're starting the ascension process, and we're just starting to wake up. So we're starting to remember how we can access these vibrational frequencies that the stars are emitting, right? Because if you look at the moon, right, you have a lunatic. So what's a lunatic? A person who goes a little crazy, right? But it's a lunar, because it's the energy of the moon that's pulling on the emotions, the water within the individual, right? Just like the moon pulls on the tides of the oceans, it pulls on the tides within us. So each planet, each star, each galaxy is emitting a vibrational frequency. And then once we can learn and remember how to tap into these frequencies, we can start utilizing it to manifest and bring individuals from other realities into our presence and us moving into their presence. So when you listen to Rita Jacoby later on, she's going to talk about parallel realities and all that good stuff. What we're talking about is vibrational shifts in frequency. So once we understand how to tap into this ancient knowledge of how to utilize the stars and the heavens, as above, so below, we can really start making massive changes in our lives. And so being in the ruins yesterday was so cool. It was so amazing to put my hands on the stone and just feel it like vibrating. It was amazing.
So if we had more advanced knowledge as to frequencies, either the frequency of that place, of Tulum, or the frequency of the full moon or the almost full moon at the time, could we have had a more enhanced experience or a better or different experience?
Yeah, so we're going to have a more enhanced. So we look at how our reality is created, right? We're meant to come in as God consciousness and descend down in consciousness so that we can have contrast, we can have experience. So we're becoming masters of vibrations, really. This universe is one verse and multiverse. This universe is about vibrations and frequencies, right? So we want to master all the vibrations and frequencies that are within this realm. So as we descend down, we forget who we are, and as we ascend up, we remember who we are. So yes, once we start to remember in the awakening process, waking up, we're able to access those vibrational frequencies that are already there. So if you look at our cell phones, for instance, right? Someone developed a cell phone that we can talk wirelessly, but the frequencies that we're utilizing to talk wirelessly have always been there. We just needed the awareness of that frequency existing, and then the technology to tap into that frequency. So once we're aware of the frequencies and the vibrations, then we can create the technology to tap into it. So if you look at someone who does toning, right? Toning is matching resonance, a vibration and frequency, and bringing that vibration and frequency into your reality. So we're getting to the point where we're waking up to how to utilize our ancient technology, but it's really our new technology.
Well, Brian's the skeptic of our show, to help provide more depth to the conversation, sometimes add some humor. And you, not that you're not interested in the stars and all of that.
I'm very drawn to the stars.
But I know that when we've talked about astrology or anything like that, you've thought about it as kind of fringe, woo-woo.
Don't get it.
You don't get it.
I don't understand the point of astrology. It seems from my experience, and I know we've talked about this sometimes, if I read something, in the newspaper, here's your reading for this month, and I read every single sign. It's like they all apply to me. It's like so generic, and I realize this is a part of the problem of the community is you've got something that's very legitimate and intimate, and this is what Lisa does with her channeling of light language. This is very specific. This is for you, versus this thing that I'm trying to put in the newspaper that's for everybody. But that piece that's available more broadly to the public, that's what the public is experiencing. Unfortunately, for the community of spiritual people and followers and doers and preachers, what's available to me, what I see on a day-to-day basis, is garbage.
So you're saying that basically the real teachings and the real wisdom and knowledge is being kept, not being kept purposely, although a part of it is, the access of the ease of access to this knowledge to us is kept from us so that we don't really believe in it, or we don't really connect with it in the way that it was meant to be connected with.
Sure. I think it's just, and it's what I was thinking about when Jason was speaking about that vibration and that energy and ascension, and it's like and I'm gonna call myself regular person, for regular 3D people, it's not a part of our daily life. We don't think about it. I don't think about, half the people, not half the people, 90% of the people that were at Tulum with us, they were just bouncing around taking selfies, and okay, here's something old that somebody told me to go see, and they're not connecting with the place. I'll be honest, I didn't connect with the place, but I didn't try. And I want to think it's the easy way. And anytime you want change, it's not easy. It's hard. And the easy thing to do to visit Tulum was to just go and, hey, I'm going to go look at old shit. And I love history. I'm a historian. I love connecting with my past. I love understanding my past. I think it teaches us about our future. But I don't think about this ancient past that Jason's talking about, where there was something purposefully done thousands and thousands of years ago, and there was some sort of greater purpose and connection with this. It just seems to have been lost to time, and there's a few enlightened souls that are, asking that question. There's something else here. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, and Lisa and I have talked about this, it sometimes seems like a bother. It's like, why worry about it? Why do I have to worry about going somewhere else or ascending or thinking about 5D? And I'm just enjoying my life.
Jason, what is your response to that?
Yeah, so first I want to start off by saying the astrology in the paper, it's kind of a broad, because they use, it's a technique where they're trying to give a sun sign, which is your sun sign is a very small piece of who you are. There's so much to astrology, it's incredible how much there is. But really our sun sign is only a small, tiny piece of who we are. And then they put a piece of what they call cold reading inside of that astrology so people can identify with it more than just their sun sign, right? So that's why it's so generic. You can read every sign and be like, I can find myself in every one of these signs. Of course you can, because that's cold reading. That's for entertainment. And the thing is we're not raised today. We're indoctrinated into a system, a belief system, where we're taught to think and view things a certain way, and the things that are really going to take us to another level in our creativity and our existence isn't in the forefront of our teaching or on our televisions.
And I think they certainly don't want to put that type of information in the paper anyway, because the point is to keep us dummied down as well. So, if it is kind of silly and they all apply to everybody, that's just more proof on that side that, this doesn't really mean anything. Right. You're not connected.
But, and I think this is incredibly ironic, and I know we've talked about the church on the show before, most of the people on the planet go to some sort of organized religion. So there is theoretically access to this is what the church should be talking about, is what I think a lot of the people in this room think about and believe, but it's not. It's not that it's misguided, because some of the message is beautiful and right. And, I've heard people, on the cruise use that term. I think Jessica in the opening, prayer or meditation, said, whatever you call it, God, source, creator, and these are words that you hear in organized religion, and it completely misses the mark. And it's not they use the word ascension, but it's not the type of ascension you're talking about.
Right. Well, when you look into religion, right, really religion is actually based as above, so below. So they're really allegories and metaphors for the stars. When you really look back into ancient technology and ancient scripts, every single religion is talking about the same exact thing in their own terminology. But what they're talking about is the stars, right? And then they put, you have the allegories of the constellations and where they come from, what they are. But what they are is vibrational frequencies, and then they put them into stories so that people can remember them. And then over time, they became what it is today. And then control came in, and they kind of stripped away the innocence and the power, and they kind of put in a control system. But it's all done by design. Because who you are a spark of divinity, right? You're here to have this experience. So how do you take a being who knows all that is all into the depths of complete unconsciousness? There's a program, and that program is what we call the matrix, right? So as we descend down in consciousness, meaning forgetting who we are every step of the way, our civilization becomes, so you have Atlantis fell, right? So Atlantis was a very high civilization. Atlantis fell. Then you had the Greeks, and you had the Romans. You have all these civilizations coming in, and they're all falling because they're descending in consciousness. And then you get into the Dark Ages. When you look at the Dark Ages and what was happening in the Dark Ages, we were completely just had no idea who we were. We were dense. You ever call somebody dense? Like, hey, that person's dense. What does that mean? They're dense in consciousness, right? They're dense in awareness. So as we descended down, we forgot who we are. But astrology is the foundation. It really is the foundation of who you are. Now, I was just like you. Like I was like, astrology is baloney.
How long ago?
5 years ago.
Okay.
So I was like, baloney. Then my wife gives me this book, this astrology book, and I started reading it. I'm like, holy shit! Like this is.
You can all freely express yourself here.
I'm like, holy shit! Like this is my inner processing of who I am. Like I'm always seeking truth. I'm always seeking knowledge. I'm always looking for higher realities, right? And that is the basis of the Sagittarian. And then when I started really getting into astrology and my chart, and I'm like, wow, this is like my inner workings. So what's happening here? So what astrology is who you are, is just awareness, right? So when you're in your dream, what are you doing? You're aware of your experience. When you leave your body and you go into another existence, to heaven, wherever you're going, all you are is awareness. When you're here, all you are is awareness. But when you come into this matrix, right, the stars have vibrational frequencies that hold the construct of what a Sagittarian is. So when I'm born at that time, my chakras then are magnetically aligned to the stars around me, and that gives me my perception. So then I put on these pair of glasses that's called Sagittarius or Sagittarian, and I see my view through a Sagittarian point of view. But my view is my awareness, and my perception is how I'm viewing the reality, okay? So we can both look at that and have different ideas of what it is. But we're both obviously aware of it, but your perception is based on your star chart. It's based on how the stars were aligned, because we're talking about vibrational frequencies. Everything here is a vibrational frequency. It's not about dense reality. The dense Newtonian physics is going to be a wave that passed very soon, because that's an old ideology. It's an old idea, where we're moving into quantum physics now, where everything is a wave of possibilities, and the wave collapses into a particle once the awareness, where we are, views it. And it's through our view, our perception comes from the star chart in this reality.
That's very cool. Jason's going to be on our podcast in a few weeks. We're going to have you on. What course are you working on right now?
It's called The Soul's Dream, and I've been working on it for 25 years, and I've been kind of like wanting to put it out there, but not wanting to, because I have a family. I was raising my boys, and they had to get to a point where they're old enough where my wife and I can travel and they can do what they have to do. So I've been holding off on releasing it, and I got it all together. We're going to be releasing it in March, on the new moon, on March 4th. But what it's about is our ancient technology and how it moves into how we can utilize that vibrational frequencies and understanding who and what we are. So the tag phrase is understanding who and what you are, where you are, and where you're headed. Because if you want to get back to where you come from, you have to know the address. So if you don't know where you came from or who you are, how are you getting home? So the foundation is understand where you came from, understand who you are, and then start accessing your God-given gifts, because each one of us have them. Once we start accessing these gifts, we can then start what is called ascension, is more just awakening and blossoming into our true reality.
Okay.
Here we go.
I'm just gonna. We've got a lot of people in the audience that I know listen to the podcast, and I know that we've got some new people that we've met on the cruise that don't necessarily listen to what we talk about on the podcast, and I'm gonna just throw this out to anyone in the audience, and as many answers as we can get. That's great. For somebody like me that in your life, somebody that is either spiritually stubborn, firmly rooted in 3D, somebody like my parents that are maybe even more firmly rooted in 3D. What would you tell me? What would be your advice to me as a first step, a very easy step to move towards 5D? Jeremy.
I would honestly tell you to continue doing what you're doing, actually. Continue to ask questions and to question the system, basically. And, if something comes up and it's new to you, like questioning horoscopes, and because it's going to make you want to dive deeper into that potentially. And even if it doesn't, it's going to lead you down another path to open your eyes up to new things. Because every time you question, you have to search for the answer. And then when you get the answer, then it opens your eyes and opens your perception up. So I think the definition of being spiritual is to be a skeptic. And so it's because you have to continue asking the questions. If you stop asking the questions and you think you've arrived at all the answers, then you're probably not practicing good spirituality. And that's what's happening, what you were talking about earlier with the horoscopes. People are very ungrounded in their perceptions, and they're just taking things at face value of what other people are telling them, and they're not having the true work or experience of spirituality, which is digging in deeper and asking the questions and getting the answers for themselves, not from other people. So that's what I would tell you.
Wow. I'm on the path.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tree. I think that you need to consider also studying like ancient history like Thor and these gods that they talked about were actually the planets. The planets are alive. You have to realize that also. They talk to each other. They communicate. And another thing that you have to realize about horoscopes is it isn't just this little snippet of I was born on this date. You have to go to the time that you were born. what was going on, in the skies, where everything was positioned at the time, and all that stuff influences you. So you're just hitting like the surface when you're going to the newspaper all the time and saying, okay, I'm reading this snippet. And of course, this applies to like everybody. But if you go more in depth in it, then you realize there's so much more to it. If you add, like ancient history and realizing that the planets are alive and that they do influence you at your birth. And the other weird thing about it is like women are always told, okay, your child is going to be born in such and such a month. Okay. So you have an expectation. What happened? I was born like a month late. So I was supposed to be, like under another sign, but I was born a Sagittarius. So that even has something to do with my readings. It's like, even though I was supposed to be born, like in November, I waited until December the 12th to come. So everything that was going on in the skies and influencing my birth was totally different than what was supposed to be. And one famous astrologer told me, it is what it is.
Yeah, supposed to be is to the perceived person believing that was supposed to be your date of birth. Michelle, did you have something you wanted to say? I saw you looking back. No?
I was just going to say, pick up a book on astrology and just read it, even though you have this, none of us learns how to be a chef without having to really get our hands dirty. And it's the same with astrology or any other subject. A lot of times we have skepticism just because we haven't gone deep enough.
Thank you. And so, Jason, if people want to sign up for your course, do you have anywhere that they can go to, or at least to learn more about it?
Yes, it's they can go to thesoulsdream.com. And, right, so it's been 25 years and an amazing amount of hours to put this in together. I mean, it was crazy how long it took me. But I feel that this information is so important to all of humanity that I was going to charge $500, right? And I'm like, well, some people can't afford $500. And I think that, for me, I think the greatest reward that I can get from this is humanity awakening, right? It's shifting the collective consciousness in a small amount, right? So if you look at the Maharishi Maheyoshi effect, right? It's only 1%. So we can shift the critical mass within the collective consciousness. That's where the rewards come in, right? So I'm offering it to everyone free, absolutely free. So I think everyone should have access to this information because it's that important.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and on top of that, I'm going to create a community, right? So every week I'm going to have Q&A for people who finish the lessons between 1 and 4. There'll be a Q&A for that. And then for people who complete the whole course, they'll get an invitation for the Q&A for that. So I want to get an ongoing community where we're getting together every week and we're sharing and we're communicating and we're building something. It's not just talking about something. Knowledge is great, but wisdom is where it's at. It's about applying what we know, and that's where it really comes in. And I think if we start feeding off each other and growing with each other, we're going to really create that 1% and shift.
And do you have an email address that people can get more information,
go to,
or a website?
Jason@thesoulsdream.com.
Jason@thesoulsdream.com?
Yeah.
I might actually download it.
Wow.
Well, I didn't say I'd read it.
Well, it's all video.
I'm one step.
It's all
Step
part,
one.
It's all part of the process.
It's all video presentations. You can sit there and watch it. You're going to read nothing. You're going to sit back and enjoy it and watch it.
Nice.
But I go deep into it. If you love history, you're going to love what I put together in my lesson 2. It's called Understanding Time and the Meaning of Ascension. You're going to love that because it really breaks down history, the history that we think we know, and the history that we have forgotten together.
I'm intrigued.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Jason.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
guys.
you for being
It's
on.
been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. So we have a very young body in the audience. Garen, we'd love for you to come on up and or pass him the mic. Here, you can give him. Come on up. Yeah, come sit here. So, Garen, tell the audience how old you are.
I'm 16 years old. It's not on, but I turned 17 March 4th, and I've been very spiritual for the past year and a half.
How did you get into your spiritual journey?
I was raised in Hawaii, so it's part of the culture there. And when I was younger, she went through her awakening.
She is your mom?
Yep. And she was explaining to me chakras and different things like that, and I understood it. I wasn't driven to seek more of it for a while. And then after about, I guess, 10 years later, I decided that I wanted to go back into it, and I realized how many different things were happening perceptually to me, and I didn't understand, and then I wanted to understand it more. So I dug deeper and started asking my intuition things and getting answers.
That's amazing. So one of the things that happens is we're all familiar with, as you start to awaken and you start to come into your awareness, that it becomes a struggle with the people around you who aren't as aware as you. And when you're older, it's an interesting journey, but many of us haven't had that experience in our teens. So what has been your experience with your friends and people around your age waking up?
At first, I was expecting that they were going to look at me like a lunatic, but then I found out that they were kind of like me, just not to the extent that I have. They didn't dive as deep as I did, but they were spiritual themselves. I have a group of 4 or 5 friends that all meditate, and we all meditate together sometimes. And they know about certain things that I know, and it just, after a while, they had that separation I spoke of earlier, the not wanting to continue through because it just felt like it was a wall.
So that's interesting. So there's a threshold that people reach where they either really want to move forward or it kind of scares them and they stop moving in the direction that they've been moving. Have some of your friends has there been a pause, or have they regressed because they got so scared?
It's either a pause in certain instances, or they have, like you said, a digress. They have 1 foot in their one world and 1 foot in the other, and they choose to go back to what's comfortable because the ego doesn't want to die.
That's true. Lisa?
Ego doesn't want to die.
Ego doesn't want to die.
I love that. I experienced that. I went through the same thing that you did when I was 16, but that was a really long time ago, and there just wasn't as much support for me back then. It was I was introduced to the Course in Miracles, and
but that was from your father, so
right.
Similar introduction by a parent.
Right, exactly. It was from my father, but I went back into that 3D, but you can never really go all the way back. I mean, once you've been exposed to these ideas, I carried it with me, but I just didn't continue to delve into it as I would have probably if I didn't. I don't know if it got scared or, just didn't feel like that was the path for me maybe at the time. It's hard to say why things happen, but I think it's really interesting that you talk about this threshold, because I think a lot of people go through that. And I know we did a workshop here on the cruise about relationships and, one partner going through an awakening and the other one not, and how difficult that is. And I think sometimes you can get swayed by your family or your spouse away from these sort of things, because it is about the ego's terrified. The ego is terrified that it's going to die, and you start just going back to what's comfortable. So you really have to just continue to forge forward. And I think having groups like this, being able to, I know my sister's here, and she was saying that she loves being around, these like-minded people, and you get so much energy, and we learn so many things from each other. So you have to make sure you're exposing yourself to like-minded people. If you're at that threshold where you're kind of scared and you're not sure, go seek out people who have similar interests in you that you do.
Garen, what has been your experience at the conference with everyone?
Large amount of community, it seems. I haven't met any of these people before, but the first time I looked at all their faces, I look and I'm like, I know their face, but I don't know them as themselves. And it's just, there's such a familiarity. I don't know. It's very interesting.
So it's in a sense of you don't know them as who they are here, but who they are in a whole.
I don't know their ego, but I know that I know something deeper. Or a deeper part of me knows their deeper part. Or higher self, should I say.
Yeah, I think on another level, this was divinely orchestrated, all of these souls being here together at this time on this journey. So
And what are some of the questions? Because it sounds to me like you're possibly like a teacher for your friends right now, that they're looking to you for some of the answers because you've taken the initiative to go deeper. What are some of the questions you're getting from your friends at this age?
They ask me a lot about synchronicity and different things like that, because I explained to them my process of every morning I wake up, I visualize certain key events that I want to have happen in my day, and usually 90% of the time it happens the exact way I visualize it. And I've been showing them that they have power over circumstances depending on their focus, and that's what the human mind / heart is for. You're supposed to focus, and with that you can really have a change in every single experience that your attention gets drawn to is literally your own belief system kind of getting proven. If you know that you can use beliefs as tools and to prove you things, so you can continue and go more and more and more.
Yeah. Brian, what are your thoughts listening to such a wise person beside you?
I can't imagine thinking that way when I was 16. Yeah, I mean it's incredible. You know, my journey was very different when I was younger. But also very similar. You know, I was very churchy when I was his age. My dad studied to be a minister, and he was always very involved in the church, and I always went to the church and did, you know, all the churchy things, and but I never went deeper. I never, you know, and I'm just looking at who I am now. I go deep into a lot of things, but not myself. And I think it's an interesting realization for me to think about, that I've never really put the focus on the inside of who I am until now, and to be able to think that you're starting that journey now, you know, looking inward at such a young age is going to open up so much for you as you get older and you progress through the world. But time is a construct of our mind, so all is not lost.
There is hope.
I think I just love what you said about focusing on the morning, how you want your day to go, and then 90% of the time it comes out that way. But we're doing that, like you said, already without actually thinking about it. It's like this self-fulfilling prophecy because of your beliefs and who you think you are, or what situation you think you're in. You think it's happening to you, and you don't even realize that you're creating it on this moment-to-moment basis. I mean, I think to me that's awakening. When you start to realize, which is kind of what happened to me when I read the Course in Miracles when I was 16. I realized, wow, this isn't even real. Like, this isn't reality, you know? This can change just by the way I think about it, how I choose to look at it. This is based on my beliefs. And once you eat that pill, like, there's no going back. It's just like, how deep do you want to go? And I think it's scary. At some point, it's a little bit scary to know that you have that much control. And that scares the hell out of the ego, because it's like, oh, I'm just going to poof and go away once they figure this one out.
Now,
you know, so it's just really scary.
Now I know the fans of our show are probably going to laugh, especially Nicole's going to laugh. But I do actually try things. I recently have been trying to manifest something into my life, you know, my way, you know, probably not the normal way, or whatever. I don't know if there is a normal way, but I've been, you know, intentionally trying to manifest change.
And you're doing it.
And there is no specific way to do it. You have to find the way that works for you. What
I use
resonates
Photoshop.
with you.
I said I use Photoshop. So I'm trying to I'm manifesting. So a big part of my life right now, is my new company and the app that we're developing. And this year is going to be a big change. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from people, and we've, even from light language, and I mean, there's so many outside people, have said, I see great things for you. But the reality of something like this is raising money. And for an app, it's raising money with 2 commas in it. So I took a screenshot of my business bank account on my phone, and I photoshopped.
It does not have 2 commas in it.
Which does not currently have 2 commas in the bank account. And I photoshopped a $5 million deposit. So I can look at that every day. I can go to my screen. It just looks like I'm looking at my bank online, and I can visualize and say, oh, on June 1st, we got a $5 million deposit, and it shows the balance. And I'm just trying to I believe in it, but it was like a physical manifestation of seeing it, because to me, and I know we've joked about it, me being from the show me state, but seeing is believing to me.
Well, no, you brought it into the physical reality that way. You brought it from in the mind, and now you can physically see it in your world.
Right.
That's
that
important.
Actually is a technique.
Yeah, that is a technique.
That actually is.
June 1st.
June 1st.
I did this year, June 1st, 2019.
Awesome.
10 a.m.
Oh, there you're getting down to the time. Wow. Yes, the next cruise is on Brian.
I did say so. It's interesting because enLIGHTenUP has grown. I think beyond what a lot of us hoped, and we've talked internally. I don't know if we've ever said this to our listening audience. When we started in May of 2017. I was not a regular co-host at the time.
You weren't even Lisa's boyfriend yet.
I was not. No, we had not even gone on our first date. But it was getting close to May of 2018, so a year into the podcast, and we were talking about you wanted to go to Mexico to celebrate. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. It was like this big.
Then.
Yes.
Yes.
In May of. So it took a year. So we were getting ready to almost celebrate a year anniversary of doing the podcast and having 1,000 subscribers. And wow, how cool is that? Before we could ever plan it, within 2 more months, it went to 3,000. And then we're almost at 10,000 subscribers.
We're past 10,000 subscribers.
In a year and a half. It's been such a cool journey to see enLIGHTenUP become this legitimate, force in this world that people actually tune in and listen to and talk about, and we're getting to that point of maybe having sponsors. And so this is a long answer to your question. Absolutely, Blue Dot is going to be a sponsor
of our next
enLIGHTenUP
event. Wow.
If anyone wants to donate to our podcast, feel free.
So before we let you go, Garen, I'd love to know, since you have so much interesting insight, is there anything you'd like to impart on our audience and everyone here, some of the wisdom that you feel is so pertinent in your life right now?
Don't believe that trying is doing, because believing that you're trying something itself is acknowledging the fact that you're not succeeding. You're attempting. So you have to immerse yourself fully in it and have complete and utter trust in the universe, and allow it to set out and just almost forget about it until it comes back. Because the moment you have doubt or anything negative, it cancels it out, and you need to have positive again. And
wow, wait, he's 16.
I know.
I know.
My head is just buzzing right now. I'm blown away.
Yeah, exactly. His soul is an ancient soul.
For example, you want to learn about some sort of medicine throughout your day. You might see more about medicine in the things that draw your attention. So just take control of that focus and know whatever you're experiencing right now is from a past vibration that you're sending out. So you're not experiencing what you are right now. You're experiencing what you were. So with that, always keep in mind that your mind can be different than your experience, and it's just about keeping that foundation positive, I guess.
Brian's mind blown right now.
That's a really, really great point, though, because I think people get tripped up on. In fact, a friend of mine, we started talking about this, and she's like, "Oh, I'm going to try, this positive thinking, manifesting stuff," and then she told me about this just awful experience she had, like in the airport with lost luggage, and she's like, "Yeah, it doesn't work," and I'm like, "Okay, wait a minute, you gave it like 24 hours, like." I just think your point is true. Like the past, you've got to let it kind of clean up, get that vibration.
What absolutely
sync.
speaks to that question I was asking earlier. How do you, for somebody like me, how do you get into that first step? And it's not a short, it's like, okay, I'm going to try manifesting. It's like, well, it didn't work. I was like, how long did you try? Well, it was like 2 hours, and I was like, I really wanted it, and it didn't happen.
Yes, Teresa.
I think what he's trying to explain is that words create. So when you say the word try, it's not going to work.
It's not
so
in the
when,
now.
Yeah, when you're manifesting, you have to be exact. And also you, when you're focusing and manifesting, the focus is important, and also intense. So there's so many things when you are manifesting that you have to remember, and your words you have to remember, create. So be careful what you're speaking when you're manifesting.
Yes, words
is
carry
what I'm
a
trying to say.
vibration and
Yes,
frequency.
yes,
The
they
collective
do.
as well. You can tether your specific manifestations to a part of the collective, to make the collective improve as well as yourself. So it's not limited to the ego, I. You're trying to improve everybody, and with that, it when you help people, you kind of get more help yourself. It's that sort of thing. So it just pushes with so much more momentum when you have a outlook on we instead of I.
Yeah, that what you do for yourself, you're helping others, and that's what others are doing are helping you. Yeah, we're all connected. Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you
Tarek.
for
It was
letting
a
me
pleasure
join.
to have you on. Wow.
Your mother should
Jason?
be very proud. Michelle, you should be very proud.
Yeah, very proud. You guys have done a great job.
Jason wants to add a comment. It's
Yeah,
not
Jason,
too late.
go ahead.
Never too late.
Never too late.
So talking about language, two most important words we will ever say is I am. Because I am is the present moment, right? So you say I am, what you put after that is your desire, right? But it's always putting it in the present. So I is the awareness, am is the subconscious mind. Once it's implanted into your subconscious, it becomes an experience in your world continuously. So they say it takes, if you want to create a habit, it takes 28 days, right, to create a habit, meaning you're repeating. But once you get something into the subconscious mind, it doesn't leave, right, unless you override it or change it. But I am is the process of your conscious mind and subconscious mind coming together, and always talk in the present tense, now. I am. So trying, like we were saying, is future. I'm going to get there one day. I'm going to try. But I am that now. Even if it's not happening now, once you start programming the subconscious will wait, it's not happening. This has to happen. So it finds a way to bring it into your reality.
Catches up.
So I am trying to lose 5 pounds versus I have lost 5 pounds. I have lost, or I, if
Or
that's
just
if that's
say-
what you're trying to
just
do.
say it in a way.
Yes.
the perfect weight.
Oh, interesting.
Or say you're 185 pounds, you want to be 180. You say, I am 180 pounds. That way you just get there. You're there.
Right on.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much.
I
You want to
wish-
say no? Share more. Go ahead.
So I am is, like you said, the most powerful 2 words you can have. So I did an exercise a couple months back where I wrote down what I am means to me. And I put I am, and then I wrote an entire sheet of paper of just a bunch of different affirmations. And every single time that I had a negative thought or doubt, in school or wherever I was at, I'd get up, go to the bathroom, and read it 4 times. And it would just flood my mind with what I wanted to focus on. And with that, every time I said I am, and I wasn't looking at the sheet of paper, all of the paper would flood into my mind, and I'd have that just pop up, so I know to focus on that. And you could do that for anything. It's kind of like a focus paper.
a focus paper.
Love
it.
I called it my I am proclamation, something like that.
I am proclamation. There you go. That's a great tool to use. Thank you for sharing that with everyone. Well, who had a
We have a
back
question
there?
here from Michael.
Well, it wasn't a question, but in the NLP world, neurolinguistic programming, the word try presupposes failure, and so they say take that out of your language. And then the other comment I had is there was a scientist that walked among us who was a genius, and his name was Sir Isaac Newton, and he was a big shot that he had to hide about astrology. He studied it, he knew it, he wrote things about it. Huge astrologist, but because of the church's influence, he couldn't tell anybody. And they found all these books that he had wrote and stuff. So he really believed in it, and it's kind of interesting.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, we have a podcast listener in the audience that we're going to bring up right now. Michelle, why don't you come on up and take the hot seat? Because I know the hot seat's burning to have your butt in there.
You know that's where I like to be, Nicole.
All right. So, Michelle, you and I have known each other for almost a year now, and you've been listening to our podcast religiously.
Yes, we listen to all of them. Now, this is my shirt. I'm kind of choppy today.
just like the water outside. Yeah. So, you've listened to Brian's journey and his evolution or de-evolution.
Can I start at Michael's?
Oh yeah, start with Michael. Michael's not here anymore, but he's still in our heart. So why don't you talk about Michael?
Well, first I want to say I found Nicole through N5D, and then I followed her to her website, and that's where I found enLIGHTenUP. But enLIGHTenUP's really helped my life a lot. All your guests, and I started probably episode 5 or 6 with Michael, and I went back and listened to the ones I missed. And Michael was a good skeptic at that point, but then Michael changed. Michael became softer and softer and then started believing, and his dreams were fantastic, and I loved listening to those. And then you brought on, well, Brian was a guest a couple times, and I thought, what an asshole. And I had a friend of mine listen, and they go, how the heck did Lisa marry Brian? He's an asshole.
You're not making any friends.
No, but he's okay. He's okay. That's where I want to go. Well, he came in when Michael got less skeptical.
Yes.
And he took over. And in the beginning, you were like an attorney grilling somebody on the stand. And I was thinking, oh my God. And as we've gone through it, you're more questioning, softer. You're not grilling them anymore. And it's like you're listening to what they're saying and taking it in, and you are changing, you're evolving. And I think your first step was meeting Lisa, and I think she's been very good for you.
Absolutely.
And she's taken you a long way, and you may get replaced soon. Because
not in Lisa's.
Only hope.
Not in Lisa's,
Lisa's.
no, but in the podcast. And yeah, you're not an asshole anymore.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I want that 8x10 signed.
I just quickly realized that I'm taking that same journey with you, because there was always something. I had the questioning behind me, and I'm involving with you in your steps. I just noticed that. Thank you for being there and asking those questions.
Yeah.
Thank
it's
you.
Important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Because everyone's at different stages of the journey, and it's important that, at least on our podcast, that we have those voices heard through different people on the podcast, because not everyone's at the place where, say, I'm at or where Lisa's at. And it's important that when people are coming in new to this, that they feel supported from where they're at as well. Otherwise, they're just going to drop off and we're going to lose them. And that's not what we want. We want to assist people from any place in the journey that they're at. So, Brian, you have been evolving.
Yeah. It's been an interesting journey to come on board and be a skeptic and play a role. And I do realize that, and sometimes it's harder to remember. And I still try to think back, not to be whatever you said I was, because I'm not.
The hole in the butt.
But but I realized I had a role to play, and that was one thing that we had talked about in terms of my joining the podcast was not necessarily to be myself, but to be this other person, to be the skeptic, to ask the hard questions. Because if everybody's like-minded, you're not getting that other side, or you're not having that full dialogue, that chance to really dissect the subject matter. So sometimes I'm better at it. Sometimes I remember. There are certain guests we have that they're just so smart, and they're very well studied in their subject matter, and it's hard to dispute what they're saying, and even for me to have great questions to ask. So I try to remember. I will continue to try to remember, even as I evolve and go down the road to I'll try to remember to do my role is to ask questions.
Well, and he just, you've always got to have a villain on the show, right? And then it just makes Lisa and I look so much better.
But your way of questioning has changed.
Yeah, I agree.
There was one guest, I don't remember her name, Jessica Alstrom. Yes, like she took offense when you were questioning her. She came.
That was Michael.
No, that was Michael.
Oh, Michael?
That was Michael.
Yeah, no, Brian was actually really good, but there was Michael who was really aggressive with
That
her.
was one of his last shows. That wasn't time to go.
But
that was his last show.
Yeah.
That was his last show.
But even your questioning has come more about a place of curiosity than a place of, I don't know what the word I want to say is.
A place of what? Defense.
Yeah, you're not making defensive. You're being curious.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I think this is intriguing to me. This, being married to Lisa and seeing her journey, and even our first date when she started channeling light language, for a skeptic, for somebody that doesn't understand this fully, and the depth and the breadth of how a lot of you probably are on your day-to-day life, to see her channel light language, I can't dispute it. I can't say you're faking it. Now, I can look in the community and see, oh, that person, that's fake, or you can't do that. We were talking the other day. You saw an ad the other day of learn to speak light language. Marcus, you mentioned it last night. Learn to speak light language. You can't learn to speak light language. It's something that's channeled, and so there is some sort of fakery in the world. And for a skeptic that understands that, and that's what we hang our skeptic hat on, is this is BS.
Yeah.
And for me to be married to somebody where this is absolutely not BS, this is completely legitimate, this channeling what she's doing, of course my eyes are going to be opened.
I am going to disagree with you, Sir Brian, that you absolutely can learn how to channel light language. And we had a guest on, Jamie Price, who teaches people how to channel light language. You can teach someone who's never known how to cook. So you can teach someone how to channel light language. It's something that's in us all. There's a certain ability. Some of us are just naturally better at it, or the gifts we've chosen for those gifts to be accessible at some point. Channeling is just about letting go. It's about allowing something to flow through you. And that could be light language. It could be a message. It could be audio. It could be visual. It could be anything. And I think it's hard to know, though, but there are fakes out there. There are people who are trying to pull the wool over your eyes. And that's within any community. That's within the medical community. That's within the legal community. That it's in any industry. So you have to have the power of discernment to be able to figure out what is true and what is not for you, what resonates, what doesn't resonate. And as you pay attention to that soul language within yourself, your own internal BS meter gets stronger and stronger.
Right, and I agree. You probably can learn to channel, but I was referring to the ads that say learn to speak light language, not learn to channel light language, because I see those as two completely different things.
And they may be the same, but I think it's just misleading. Like, we can teach you how to, it's like anything. that they say that they can teach you to do. But you can. You put enough energy, you can learn remote viewing or astral projection or, automatic writing or all those things.
And those were some of we've had a couple of guests that have talked about that. That to me is what fascinates me the most. Especially
remote
when
viewing?
I look at now, there's the doing, and then there's the, like that would be really cool. Have I tried to do anything towards remote viewing? No. Wow, that would be I think that would be the coolest thing ever in the history of my life.
Would everyone like Brian to put a timestamp on maybe him trying remote
No, you
viewing?
can't. Wait, you just set him up for failure. You said trying.
Well,
I
because he
am
hasn't
remote
decided.
viewing. I am remote viewing.
I am a remote viewer.
Why don't you choose a time frame of when you would?
I'll do it with you. Go.
Okay.
We can
I
go.
mean, if it's the one thing you're most intrigued about.
It's because it has to do with history. I could travel back in time and see something historical, and that intrigues me so much. Yeah, I would.
Well, put your money where your mouth is.
Ouch.
Okay, when Brian starts remote viewing, we definitely need a new skeptic.
Well, you're gonna put it into action now.
The tip of my tongue. I was about to say, I will try. That's why I paused, because I was about to say I will try, and I was like, well, I can't say that because we just learned how I can't. I shouldn't say that.
Yeah. So I think starting off with a book on remote viewing might be a good place for you to.
Yeah, actually, in the first guest we had mentioned the book, and
John Mathis.
Yeah, he mentioned what book was written. It was written. I want to remember. He said it was 100-year-old or 1,000, or it was a very ancient tome of how to remote view. And
I'm gonna buy you your first remote viewing book.
Well, I'll tell you, if you go to our website and you go to our guest page to John Mathis, if you click him on him, it direct you right to the podcast he was on.
Or you can just listen.
Or
to
you can go to his
again.
website too. Well, that's what I mean. It'll direct you to the episode and to his website.
Yeah.
I want to give props to my wife because she has put a lot of time and effort into redesigning our website. So if you're new to the podcast, especially some of the people that we're meeting here on the cruise, check out the website enlightenup.us because it's organized in a way to be able to find past guests, or if you're like me and you want to find out about one of our past shows, I can go to the website and figure it out.
Yeah. Well, does any of our audience members have anything that they'd like to share right now? Is there any insight or experiences? Robbie?
I started my journey, I guess, about 10 years ago. I'm married to an electrical engineer, so you want to talk about having a skeptic 24/7? Who understands physics and would tell me, no, it can't work that way. So he actually made me dig deeper and come back with, but wait, there's quantum physics. And so slowly, as he questioned what I was telling him and making me go do the research, because he's a busy guy, but then he would listen to the explanations and he's like, all right, yeah, I understand that. And now he's at the point that he does mantras and he does distance healings on people, and somebody who was so grounded in science and what is here and now, and it's completely changed him.
That's cool. Thank you for sharing that with us,
And
Robbie.
it didn't take 10 years.
Oh, that even better. Andrew, we'll take a question or a comment from Andrew.
I think perhaps one of the best ways to elevate consciousness and such, just be one with nature. I tried to do that, and I just sat there by the creek, and then it wasn't boring. Thought it would be just sitting there, but it isn't. It's anything but boring, just sitting in nature and letting the information come into you and letting it work its miracles, and you get answers that you never thought you'd get. They just come to you better than any drug, better than any... and it's probably one of the best healings out there you can get. So even in the wintertime, walk through a snowstorm. The crystals of the snow can do some great wonders on you. So nature is the key, I think.
Thank you. That's true. And
Great
going
advice.
into nature allows you to connect with the frequency of everything that was in existence as it was meant to be. And that allows you to be realigned with yourself and how you were meant to be before all of this programming came into place and totally took us out of our alignment. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share? Okay, well, thank you so much for being a part of this first interactive enLIGHTenUP.us podcast. This has been a lot of fun. And oh, yeah, sure, Michelle.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
When I listen to the podcast, I can feel Brian's love for Lisa, and she's a lucky woman. And you are an asshole.
Thank you. He does a lot for me too. He keeps me grounded. It's the perfect balance. So yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. So, well, we're thinking of doing an Enlighten Up conference in probably next year sometime. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have hopefully different guests who've been on the show. And of course, now that you've all been here, you've been guests on our show. So I hope you all will join us, and we'll be keeping you updated on that. We're going to have Jason back on the show in a couple of weeks. And next week, we have Jessica Alstrom joining us again. So she's going to be giving us all of her very smart wisdom and insight to share with you guys all. So thank you so much for being here. If you need any more information, of course, go visit our website, enlightenup.us, and please follow us on all social media. Lisa's doing a great job with our Instagram and all that. And we're going to try to eventually, our goal is to go, you don't want to go live? Oh, yeah.
Oh,
right.
try.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Yes. So we are going live soon. I don't know the time frame, but we're working on that.
We are live.
We are live.
We are live.
Coming live.
Yeah, so we can have a chat where you guys can interact with us on the show and be a part of it in real time. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll be back with you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.